Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to the Nebraska Cattlemen's Cattle Edge Producer Education webinar. My name is Benita Lettier. I am the Director of Producer Education with the Nebraska Cattlemen. We are excited to be hosting another webinar this afternoon with our partner, Farm Credit Services of America. Nebraska Cattlemen works for cattlemen on issues affecting them. If you are not a Nebraska Cattlemen member, we hope that you will consider investing in our organization. We need you to keep us growing strong. We hope that you will join us at our upcoming Nebraska Cattlemen mid-year meeting on June 9th and 10th in Valentine. A complete agenda can be found on our website. We have lined up several great speakers for our committee meetings. A little bit of housekeeping for our webinar this afternoon. If you have any questions for our speakers, you can use the Q&A box, and you can find that box at the bottom of your screen. We will be watching for questions, so do get your questions typed in there and we will get them answered. We are recording the webinar and it will be posted onto our website. You can find all our webinars also where you download your favorite podcasts. There's a survey that's going to pop up at the end of our webinar, and I hope that you'll take a couple minutes to answer these questions. This helps us in putting together great programs for our members. Our target for our webinar today is about 30 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. First, we have Landon Nelson. He's an insurance service officer at Farm Credit Services of America and focuses on supporting livestock producers through the LRP and the Livestock Gross Margin, the LGM programs. He helps lead efforts in educating and supporting producers in LRP across 5 states. We also have Sammy Grimes, and she is an invested crop insurance agent from the Panhandle of Nebraska. She has 12 years of experience in crop insurance and a strong understanding of the products available and the tools FCSA provides. Vanessa Reisers is an insurance service officer. She combines being a landowner and her insurance industry knowledge to offer a trusted and valued partnership when it comes to risk management. I want to thank these three for being a part of our webinar, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Awesome. Well, I want to start off by saying thanks, Benita. Thanks to the Nebraska Cattlemen for the opportunity to host today's webinar. And thank you to everybody for attending and everybody listening to the recording here after the fact. So get started here. Benita just did a quick introduction, but we have 3 members of our livestock insurance team here on the call. And really, what we do is we work with producers looking for alternative ways to manage risk on their livestock. And livestock risk protection has really been developing as one of those alternatives. We'll spend some time talking today about how the program works, but more importantly, how we think it could benefit your operation. And ultimately, LRP is a financial insurance tool that can allow producers to rest easy if livestock markets do decline. So we'll hop through some quick introductions again. So like Bonita said, my name's Landon Nelson. I work here on the eastern half of Nebraska. And prior to joining Farm Credit in January of 2021, I actually worked as a commodity merchandiser for a large grain processor here in the state, helping deal with an ethanol plant in Columbus, a couple soybean plants, and some wheat mills across the U.S. And I do serve producers across the entire state. So thanks again for joining. Vanessa, you want to give us a quick intro?
Hi, I'm Vanessa Reisers. I live right on the edge into Wyoming. I'm based out of the Farm Credit in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Have worked here for 18 years and work with all of the ag community in Western Nebraska as well as Wyoming.
I am Sammy Grimes. I'm an insurance services officer out of the Alliance office. I am home-based and live in Hemingford, but I serve the farm ranch and feedlot customers out of the Panhandle. That should be it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. Real quick, I thought I'd just show a quick map. So here's all of our local offices in the state of Nebraska. We do serve the whole state. We have local agents that quite often are farmers and ranchers themselves. So as we progress through today's call, if you have any questions on, not only LRP, but other livestock or grain related programs, equipment financing, please use us as a resource. We're here to serve the communities that we live in, and we welcome any opportunity to work with you. One thing that I would like to point out, if you're not currently a Farm Credit Services of America customer, lending customer, anything like that, you are able to work with us on livestock insurance. So just know that if this is your first opportunity getting some exposure with us, that is totally fine. So quick meeting agenda, we'll hop through what is LRP. Second, we'll dive into a little more execution, application, and timeline. We do have some examples prepared of times where LRP is paid, what it's done for producers. And then to wrap up, we'll talk policy requirements and claims. What do you need to be part of the program? Just some final housekeeping thoughts. So the livestock risk protection is a federally subsidized program for a decline in livestock markets. Here in the last couple of years, we've seen the subsidy ranges increase. So LRP has been around for nearly 20 years, if not 20 years. But starting in 2018, we saw those subsidy levels increase and then dramatically increase at the beginning of 2020. So if you look at the chart on the right-hand side, in 2020, had you had a $145 LRP feeder cattle protected price, you can see all the opportunities where LRP would have kicked in and helped gain some of the income that you lost from that decline in the market. And I'm not going to click on it, but we do have a really nice recap video on the Farm Credit Services of America LRP page. So, if it's been a week or a month and you're trying to remember what all we talked about, there is a good resource there that I'd encourage you to check out. And then, like Bonnie said, we will be, Nebraska Cattlemen will be getting this posted out on YouTube as well. So basic provisions. So just some basic steps to the program. Crop insurance is offered on a per head basis, per acre basis. LRP is offered on a per head basis. And then we actually assign a marketing weight to that number of head to get the proper amount of coverages. One of the important things to note with LRP is it does use area prices. So nothing is tailored specifically to a cash price that you receive. It is all area based. But one of the roles that we assume here at Farm Credit is to make sure that those area prices correlate highly to the producer prices received. And we'll talk through that here in a few minutes. Quite often we see that those numbers work in favor for producers in Nebraska. The shortest insurance period that you can elect with LRP is 3 months. 13 weeks is how the RMA dictates that. Basically meaning if you're going to market any livestock 3 months from today, you can go ahead and utilize LRP on those animals all the way out to a year. So we are seeing coverages out until end of April of 2023. If you're marketing animals here in the next 2 to 4 weeks, LRP is not going to be a fit for those critters. So one of the nice additions that they've made to the program is you do pay for your coverage later. So if you're looking way out into 2023, you're actually able to put coverage on today, and you won't be paying any premium for that for upwards of a year. So every day we see new LRP prices released, and there's typically about 10 per marketing period, but the coverage price range is from 70 to 100%. And then the 3 classes of animals that you can utilize LRP for is fed cattle, feeder cattle, and swine. So when you think about implementing LRP, there's really 3 decisions for a producer to make. And the first one being, when am I marketing animals? So when do I need market coverage? How many animals do I have that I want to put coverage on? And that associated weight that I'd mentioned. And then finally, what coverage price do I need to elect? What coverage prices are available in the market? What do my break evens look like? Things like that. So after a little basic education is done, LRP really is quite simple to implement and execute. So to help illustrate that, I do have a recent example here. So Farmer Joe intends to ship fed cattle to the packer in May of 2020, and he went ahead and locked in coverage with LRP on those animals in February. So here in the example, we use actual data from February 15th of 2022. Farmer Joe elected 1,000 head of 1,400-pound steers and heifers. The top coverage price available on the 13-week endorsement for that day was $144.38. And that LRP endorsement or LRP coverage ended on May 17th. So the May 17th date is intended to line up with when that producer is actually shipping animals to market and subject to market prices. So simply put, if on May 17th, the area cash price is below $144.38, the farmer Joe is paid the difference, less the cost of the premium. So these numbers were actually just released yesterday, and last week's average that LRP is going to be settled on was $138. And so from a gross indemnity perspective, that's about $6.38 per hundredweight, or on a 14-weight animal, just shy of $90 per head. So hopefully this example helps illustrate really how the program works. But next, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sammy, and she's going to talk through our analyzer and some of the key benefits of LRP.
Thanks, Landon. Okay, so like you mentioned, Farm Credit Services of America has an exclusive tool we use just to analyze the LRP program. It's available to customers that put in applications with us. And a lot of the benefits are the automatic daily quoting. You can actually elect to get an email once the markets close, and you can monitor those prices if you have something that you are specifically looking for. You can also look at the historical performance. If there's a month or a time frame or a weight that you're interested in historically what has happened, you can pull up that data. And then also there is endorsement tracking, which helps if you're a large producer and you wanted to have multiple endorsements, you can sure track how many head and weight you have elected there. Some of the benefits, moving on. So some of the benefits of LRP is it's a price floor, so that leaves the upside completely open. It's fairly easy to get it set up and easy to use. Vanessa will go through some more specifics on that next. And also it is competitive in prices. Like Landon mentioned, those subsidies have increased. So the majority of the time it is cheaper than a put. But that is something you can also look at and compare to on our analyzer. A big benefit is the premium is due at the end of the insurance. So it doesn't affect your cash, your line of credit at any point. And it is reflected of the cash markets and considering area basis. So like I said, it's convenient. A benefit is there's absolutely no margin calls or brokerage fees like you would have on a contract. Also, it's based on the number of head, like Landon mentioned, so we don't have a pound to watch for. And then there's really no way to get upside down on this program. So the premium, like we said, is due up front and it won't ever increase due to any market conditions. If you elect a fed cattle, this is how the price is set. It uses the 5-area weekly weighted average direct slaughter cattle. You can see the areas: Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, Iowa, Minnesota feedlots. But it goes off of the 35 to 65% choice for the steers weighted average price. So that's what we would look at if you had any fed endorsements. That's the program or the report we would pull. For the feeder cattle, this is something that Landon mentioned earlier as well. So it comes off of this CME report. And if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, it has the reported index of 156.61. But this is the average cash sales for that 11th of May. And as you can see, Bassett and Kearney both had higher cash sales than the average. So this is another benefit to the area where we could be selling higher than what you're locking in, which is even locking in your potential coverage. So it is another benefit for us. Next, I will move it on to Vanessa, and she'll talk through getting set up to purchase LRP and then some past examples of payments.
Okay, so the LRP application is a little different if you've had a multi-peril policy. The crop year on livestock policy is actually July 1st to June 30th. However, once you set up application, it is continuous until canceled in writing. So you can set up like what we would consider kind of a shell policy, a shell application, which contains all the general information and is sometimes a little more time consuming for you to get to us and for us to put in. Once we do that, all that does is give you the opportunity to lock in an endorsement at any time you wish. But it doesn't charge you any premium for just having the application. That also is going to give you the eligibility to get into our quoting tool as well. So the important thing on an application to remember is if it's an entity, a corporation, LLC, whatever it may be, we're going to need to know every person that is a member of that entity. We're going to need their social security number, address, phone number, and specifically the percent of ownership. So if there are 10 people, they each have 10%, we've got to have that information on all of them. So that's why it's a really good idea if you can set up the application in advance, get all that out of the way, and then you're just ready to lock it in. So once you have the application in place and want to lock in an endorsement, it's really simple. We can do that anytime after the market closes, which is 4 p.m. that's Central Time or 3 p.m. Mountain. Generally, we have the prices within about 30 minutes, it seems, of that time. And we can also lock them into the next day, being until 9 a.m. Central or 8 Mountain Time. So that gives you the opportunity to maybe check the markets first thing in the morning when the market's open and see how they're doing. If it's down and you say, you know what, yesterday's price was really good, I probably should have locked that in, then we still have that opportunity. We don't have a lot of time to do so, but we do have kind of that 30-minute window to get that locked in. So we do have to have those endorsements signed. They have to be signed by 9 a.m. the morning of either, if you're locking it in for the day before's price, we have to have it that very day. Or if you locked it in the evening, we have to have it in the next morning. So we don't have a lot of time to get that done. So we use DocuSign. I know a lot of people use that. It's very handy for us. And it's just a really quick tool for us to get an authentic signature from you to get that endorsement signed into the company so that we don't have any issues. All we need to lock in an endorsement, because we've already gathered that information on the application, is just the basics. How many cattle? We don't have a minimum number that you can lock in. So how many you want to lock in, your target weight, the target price you want to lock in, and the time frame that you want that to end. And then the location, we do need just the simple section, township, and range as to where the cattle will start off. After that point, they can be moved anywhere. As far as the claim and premium payment, Sammy said the premium is not due until the end of the policy, which is great. Doesn't affect your cash flow and other, if you buy a put, that's due up front. So it gives you a little time to pay that. If there's a claim, they're going to take the premium out and send you the remainder. The claims are automatic. And so this is all based off of the markets. The computer will just automatically generate if there's claims, send your agent an email and we'll get that and then send the documents on for you to sign so that we can get them turned in. We've got a couple of past examples. As you can see, this is fed cattle. So if you're looking at the top line, this is how it actually turned out for this year. So we started an endorsement. We locked in an endorsement on February 13th, ended it on May 13th. The coverage price per head in this particular instance was $2,001.72. The premium per head was $40.88. When the actual ending value came out based off of the slaughter report on May 13th that week, it ended up at $1,944.46. So the gross indemnity per head was $57.26. So you can see how that compares to the past 4 years. We do show an indemnity of some sort every one of those years based on a similar time frame. So it's been a very good product on the Fed side, and we'll look at one for feeders as well. So this is a feeder, so steers 900 pounds. February 15th, we locked in $1,579.95. Ending May 17th was $13.95.45. The producer premium was $33.53 a head, and the gross indemnity per head with that actual ending value was $184.50. So as we know, the prices were really high early this spring and winter. So locking that in was a great move for this particular person. And you can see how it turned out again over the previous 4 years on a similar time frame. It looks like February to May has been traditionally very well paying out on the feeder side. I think Landon is going to finish us up here with show us some participation graphs and then go over some of the specifics for policy requirements as well as claims information.
Awesome. Thanks, Vanessa. And I'd like to highlight that data that we've got there. That is data that we do house in our livestock insurance analyzer. So some of the tools that we've had developed for our producers have gave us some of that visibility, finding, where are the opportunities out there that we should be looking at. And so if you're interested in seeing any more of that type of information, please reach out. I did think it would be valuable to talk about what participation numbers look like. So as we've seen the subsidy levels increase, we've seen a dramatic uptick in LRP participation. These are national numbers, and the numbers on the graph are actually from the middle of March. But really, we know there's a significant higher number of feeder cattle, and we'll show fed cattle in a minute, out in the market. But we're looking at the growth, and the growth has been tremendous. I did actually run the numbers back on the 14th of May. LRP participation for this crop year is up to 1.8 million. And we're showing 428 here on fed cattle. That number's actually moved up to 560,000. So for reference, there's about 8 million pigs insured with LRP as well. But really, you could see where the subsidy kicked in the 2021 crop year. We saw a massive increase. We've continued to see that increase happen. So just thought that would be fun to show. These are also national numbers. So these are payout percentages. So if you picture all the producers in the United States paying in 100% of the producer premium paid, what did the payouts look like? And you can see certain years it pays out significantly higher than 100%, and certain years it doesn't. And that's really just correlated to what are futures markets doing. So in years where futures are down, we see those payout percentages really high. If you just look at 2020, we all remember that. 142% payout ratio. So I think that just helps, producers understand how does it work and how does it look. 2021, we had a lot of producers putting on, kind of 120 LRP endorsements for fall fed cattle. When we came to those markets, we were getting paid, 135, 140. So in those instances, of course, the LRP didn't pay. but the producer has the option to sell their personal cattle for that higher price. So that's kind of, I'd say, the underlying added benefit of a price floor strategy. It's not just good when it pays, it's actually much better when it doesn't pay. So on this chart, what we've done is we took an annualized average of the Nebraska weekly weighted live price. So I know there's a lot of dress cattle sold in Nebraska, but since LRP is based on live, we went ahead and just tracked those numbers. So the blue bars represent what that annualized average of the weekly weighted price was, and that gray bar is payouts to producers in Nebraska. So, you could see in 2017, we saw markets tick up higher. The payouts were much lower. We get to 2020 where we see that average futures price really drop. That's when the payments really start to kick in. So the goal of LRP is to add revenue to your pocket when you take less for your cattle. Looks like we might have a question. So the question is, curious if you have any data on 650-pound feeder cattle. I'm also assuming heifers are different than steers. So heifers and steers are rated differently. If you were to say put coverage on steers the same day that you put coverage on heifers, if one pays, they both pay, typically, unless there's a very, very fine margin of indemnity. We would absolutely have data on 650-pound steers. So if you if you wanted to reach out, we'd be happy to provide some of that information for you.
Great. Hey, Landon.
Yeah.
There is a question in the chat as well. If you choose November for a 600-pound feeder calf and because of drought, you sell your calves in August, have they waived the requirements for 60 days to sell before November?
So just here recently, they did actually waive that 60-day rule for those of you familiar with LRP. So about 2 weeks ago, Farm Credit put in a request with the RMA, as I'm sure a lot of other agencies did too. But the drought conditions are real. The western half of the U.S. is facing D2 and D3 drought conditions. And it's nice that we can highlight, while there are, typically shipment rules within the program, each instance that there's been intense drought or issues with packers, the risk management agencies always waived those rules for producers. And it really seems that they're trying to encourage people to utilize these programs. So it's nice that we can highlight that. So I'll go ahead and just talk through some basic policy requirements. So in order to use LRP, you must have ownership of the cattle and possession to insure. So one of the things we often run into is, feeder cattle bought on a video auction, and they're not going to take possession until August. Maybe they buy them in May. They're not going to hit the feedlot till August. You do have to wait until you take possession of those animals to insure. One of the changes here for the 2023 crop year is they are going to require proof of ownership anytime that an indemnity is due. So if you are owed money from your LRP endorsement, they'll just ask you to provide, an inoculation record, sale receipt, anything of that nature that just shows if you insured 100 steers, you actually had 100 steers. And then tying back to the question we just got, you must maintain ownership within 60 days of the end date. So in those prior examples, we used a May 15th ending date for LRP. Basically, you couldn't sell those animals until after March 16th. So they just want to keep your LRP ending periods in line with marketing. On the tail end of that, we just have to submit a claim within 60 days. And the insurance companies now have a maximum of 30 days to pay producers. So you basically have a 4-month spread around your ending date to get those animals moved and marketed. As for this year, though, with feeder cattle, those requirements have been waived basically due to drought. So one other change here, so head limits had been a maximum of 12,000 per year. Those have gone up to 25,000 per year. That change goes into effect July 1st of 2022. So here, give it another month and a week or so. Those head limits have increased, and just allowing producers to use it on a larger scope. So when claim time comes, so if you had an LRP endorsement in place and you appear that you're going to trigger a claim on that, you'll receive a couple different things. So the insurance company sends a notice of probable loss, and then they'll send a one-page claim form. And with that claim form, ownership documentation is now required. And then, like I said, indemnities actually have been moved to 30 days following a properly executed claim form. You do have 60 days to get that that document sent back to them, though. The only other thing that I think we need to touch on here is one of the requirements for the subsidy benefit that's available through LRP is you do need to have the conservation compliance form on file with the FSA. If you're doing anything with the FSA, you'll have that one on file. The only time that we run into issues is, you know, Farmer Joe's got it on file with the FSA because he farms in his name, but, you know, Farmer Joe's LLC that he runs his cattle under does not. So that is one box that we need to check ahead of time just to make sure that you, you know, realize that subsidy benefit. But we've got our contact information up here. You can also reach out to the Nebraska Cattlemen's. They can go ahead and assist you in getting in touch with us. Otherwise, I just encourage you, if this is something you think you might want to look at in the future, you can go ahead and get set up to utilize LRP and never actually end up using it. But if the situations arise like Russia, Ukraine, things like that, you know that you can always make that phone call and put some coverage in place. And we can act as resources, but also the local offices have dedicated agents throughout the state. So we appreciate your time. I guess we'll open it up here to see if we've got any more questions.
There's another question. What happens if you insure feeder cattle and at the end of the endorsement period decide to go ahead and finish those same cattle?
So you can do that, and we have a lot of people do that. You don't have to market your feeder cattle. We will have to, like I said, provide some documentation that you had those. So whether it be a feeding record, credit document, anything of that nature, we'll have to provide something if an indemnity is due, but you are perfectly able to maintain those animals to finish out. And actually, if let's say that your feeder cattle endorsement ended on, you know, August 15th, on August 16th, if you wanted to put LRP on those as fed cattle, you can go ahead and do that as well. They just can't overlap. So I got another one here. So what happens if your cattle die? So LRP is not mortality insurance. It is price protection. So if you have a string of disease that hits your feeder herd, or you've just got some bloats, things like that, essentially it's the role of the producer to just make a notice to their agent saying, hey, I did unfortunately lose some of these insured animals. Upon doing that, the LRP endorsement will actually stay in place. So the premium could still end up being due, but any indemnity owed would still be due on those animals. So there's a little less flexibility with this than, you know, say a put option or futures that you could unwind. But as long as you make the notice, you're still liable to get paid for any of that coverage. So.
Well, I want to thank Landon, Sammy, and Vanessa for spending some time here with us today. Again, if you have any questions, their numbers are on the screen right now, and we will send those out with a follow-up email that will come out here shortly. But again, thank you for everybody for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.